Ethan spent 10 years buried in work, believing love had left his life forever. But one ordinary afternoon, fate shattered his world, because he walked into a store and saw the woman he once loved, with 3 children who carried his smile, his eyes, his face. This wasn't just a reunion, it was the truth he never knew, and the family he never realized he lost. The moment he saw her, his entire world stopped. People often say billionaires live above the world, above problems, above heartbreaks, above normal human emotions. But that was the biggest lie ever told, because Ethan Cole, New York's youngest tech billionaire, lived every day with a broken heart, a heart he never learned how to fix. On the outside, he was everything the world worshipped. The genius CEO, the visionary entrepreneur, the man who turned simple ideas into empires. The billionaire who graced magazine covers and business shows. But on the inside, he was lonely, exhausted, a prisoner of his own success. And the worst part, he had no one to blame but himself. Because 10 years ago, he destroyed the one thing that could have saved him: his marriage with Maya Bennett. The love he lost. Maya wasn't just someone he loved. She was the woman he believed destiny carved for him. They met in college. He was the quiet, analytical student with a messy dorm room and sleepless eyes, and she was the sunshine, who walked into every room like she was carrying a piece of heaven. She laughed easily. She forgave quickly. She loved deeply. And Ethan, he loved her in a way he could never put into words. But success has a price, and Ethan paid with the most precious thing he ever had. As his company exploded in popularity, Ethan changed. Late nights, missed dinners, cancelled dates, work calls during anniversaries, business emergencies during vacations, empty promises that "I'll make it up to you." Maya tried. She really tried. But love without presence begins to shatter. Eventually, arguments replaced laughter. Silence replaced understanding. Distance replaced intimacy. And one day, after years of being the only one fighting for their relationship, she walked away. He never stopped her. Not because he didn't love her, but because he foolishly believed he had time. He thought, "I'll fix this after the next deal. I'll make things better when business slows down. We're strong enough to survive this phase." But some mistakes don't wait. Some love stories end quietly, long before goodbye is spoken. 10 years. That's how long Ethan lived without her. He never remarried, never dated seriously, never opened his heart again, because every woman reminded him of the one he let slip through his fingers. He threw himself into work, not because he wanted to, but because success was the only thing that didn't leave him. He bought mansions he never slept in, cars he never drove, clothes he never wore, and filled his days with meetings, deals, and interviews, hoping the noise would drown the emptiness. But each night when the world went quiet, her memory returned like a ghost. The way she smiled at him when he walked through the door, the way she rested her head on his chest and traced circles with her fingers, the way her voice softened whenever she said his name. Ethan. He missed everything. Even the arguments. At least during fights she was still there. It was a rainy afternoon in early November, the kind of day when the world seemed to cry with the sky. Ethan sat in the back seat of his black SUV, exhausted after a week of non-stop meetings, his mind drowning in numbers, deals, and responsibilities. His driver, Sam, was navigating through a small, older neighborhood to avoid traffic. Ethan barely glanced outside. He rarely paid attention to everyday life. His world was too fast, too big. But life had a strange way of hitting you right where you least expected it. Sam slowed down near a pedestrian crossing. A woman with an umbrella stepped onto the road, holding the hands of 3 small children. Ethan looked up lazily, his eyes barely focusing. Then everything inside him, every memory, every heartbeat, every buried emotion, exploded. The umbrella tilted slightly, revealing her face. Maya, not a dream, not a hallucination, not a memory. Her. Her hair a little longer, her eyes still soft, her presence still warm enough to melt every frozen part of him. For a moment, Ethan forgot how to breathe. "Maya," he whispered, but no sound came out. He pressed his palm against the car window, as if touching the glass could bring him closer to her. Maya Bennett. he whispered again, this time audibly. Sam glanced back in the mirror. Sir, do you know her? Know her? She was the love he threw away, the life he lost, the future he destroyed. But before he could even respond, Ethan's eyes drifted to the children beside her. 2 little boys and a girl, all holding her hands, all walking with her like a family. And that's when Ethan's world collapsed. Because the children, they didn't just resemble Maya. They resembled him. Same brown eyes, same dimpled chin, same expressions, same way of tilting their head when listening. It felt like someone had ripped the ground from beneath him. He leaned forward, staring like he was seeing ghosts. Maya, with children? 3, Ethan whispered, every word trembling. His stomach tightened painfully. His breath shortened. His hands shook, because a horrific thought stabbed him. Did she move on? Did she build a family with someone else? Does she love another man now? Did he lose her completely? But the worst thought, the thought that shattered him. Why do they look like me? Sam whispered again. Sir, should I stop the car? But Ethan didn't even hear him. His entire focus was on Maya. She was laughing. Bright, genuine, beautiful. The same laugh he used to wake up to every morning. The little girl tugged her hand, pointing at something in a shop window. Maya bent down, smiling, brushing her fingers affectionately through the child's hair. And Ethan felt like someone stabbed him in the heart. That soft, motherly gesture, that warmth, that natural affection. He had always dreamed of seeing her as a mother, but not like this, not without him. Not with another man's children. The rain continued to fall, blurring the world outside. But Ethan saw everything clearly. He pushed the door open before his driver could react. Sir, it's raining. Sam tried to stop him. But Ethan was already stepping into the cold rain, not caring about the weather, not caring about his $1 billion suit soaking through, not caring about anything except reaching her. His heart pounded violently as he called out, Maya! She froze. Her umbrella tilted. Her head turned slowly. Her eyes widened. For a moment, the world stopped breathing. Ethan, she whispered. Just his name, soft, full of disbelief, filled with a decade of buried feelings. He saw her lips tremble, her eyes glisten, her hands tighten around the children. Ethan took a step forward, helpless, overwhelmed, terrified, desperate. Maya, is it really you? She nodded slowly, her voice barely escaping. Yes, it's me. And then the smallest child, the little girl, pointed at Ethan and said, Mommy, who is he? That one innocent question hit harder than a bullet. Because it meant the children didn't know him. They had no idea who he was, and he had no place in their lives. He stood there, shivering in the rain, heart breaking in silence. Maya swallowed hard, whispering, Ethan, please. Not here. But Ethan couldn't hold it anymore. He pointed gently toward the children, voice cracking. Maya! Are those your children? The rain fell harder. The world went quieter. Maya looked at her kids, then at Ethan, pain flooding her face. And in that silence, he already knew the truth. His life was never going to be the same again. Rain poured around them, soaking the pavement, dripping from rooftops, and blurring the world into gray shadows. But Ethan didn't feel the cold. He didn't feel the water running down his face. He didn't feel the wind chilling his bones. The only thing he felt was the storm inside his chest. Maya stood only a few feet away, yet it felt like 1,000 miles. Her eyes were full of emotions, shock, fear, exhaustion, protectiveness, and something else he couldn't name. The 3 children held onto her like she was their anchor in the storm. And maybe she was. Because Ethan? He was the storm. Maya, Ethan whispered, his voice shaking. Are those your children? A part of him begged for her to say no, to say she was babysitting them, to say they were her friend's kids, to say anything that would save his breaking heart. But deep down he already knew the truth. Maya glanced at the children, as if gathering courage. Then she nodded slowly, gently, painfully. Yes, Ethan, she said softly, they're mine. The words slammed into him like a punch. His vision blurred not from rain, but from the tears he fought to hide. Yours? Yours? Children? 3 children. With her? With who? A stranger? A husband? Some man who replaced him? He suddenly felt sick. He felt betrayed by life itself. But before he could speak, the little girl stepped toward him, her curiosity shining through her big brown eyes. "Mommy," she whispered loudly enough for all of them to hear, "why does he look like Liam and Noah?" Maya froze. Ethan stopped breathing. Her words were innocent, but they cut deeper than any blade. The boys looked at Ethan, really looked at him, and their brows furrowed in confusion. Liam whispered, "Yeah, he looks like us, but older." Noah tilted his head. "Mom, is he one of Daddy's old friends?" "Daddy." That word made Ethan's chest twist violently. Daddy. They had a father, someone who lived with them, tucked them in at night, carried them on his shoulders, taught them things, loved them. Someone who got everything Ethan secretly dreamed of. And Ethan, he was a stranger, a billionaire with everything, except a family. "Maya," Ethan said, his voice suddenly cracking open, "I need to talk to you, please." She bit her lip, hesitating, torn between her past and her present. The kids watched silently, little faces filled with curiosity and confusion. "Not here," she whispered. "Then where?" he begged. "I need answers, Maya. I need to understand." She looked down, the rain dripping off her long lashes. "Let's go somewhere the kids can sit," she said quietly. Ethan quickly nodded. His driver opened the car door, but Maya shook her head. "No, I'm not getting in your car." He felt that rejection like a stab. "Okay," he said softly. "Wherever you want." She pointed to a small cafe across the street. A cozy little place with fogged windows and warm yellow lights glowing from inside. They walked together silently. The kids held Maya's hands tightly. Ethan walked a few steps behind them, watching them, trying to accept that they were real. Children who looked like him. Children he didn't know existed. Children who could have been his. Warm air filled the cafe, smelling of coffee, vanilla, and baked pastries, a stark contrast to the storm outside. Maya guided the kids to a table near the window. They climbed onto the chairs, chattering softly among themselves. Ethan stood still, staring at them like they were a dream he didn't dare wake up from. Maya turned to him. "We can sit over there." She gestured to a small table in the corner. He followed her, his heart pounding. The moment they sat down, silence fell. A deep, heavy silence that held 10 years of unsaid words. Ethan swallowed hard. "Maya, are they your children with—" He couldn't finish the sentence. His voice broke. "With someone else?" He finally forced out, barely audible. Maya's eyes softened. "They're mine." "Yes," she said gently. "But who is their father?" He whispered, each word scraping his throat. She looked away. "Ethan," her voice trembled, "this is not the place. I need to know." Ethan burst out, startling even himself. The cafe went quiet for a moment. He lowered his voice immediately. "I'm sorry, I need the truth." Maya took a long breath. Then she finally met his eyes. "Their father," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "is you." The world stopped. Literally stopped. Time froze. Sound vanished. Breathing paused. Ethan felt like he'd been struck by lightning. "What?" he choked out. Maya nodded. "They're your children, Ethan." He stared at her, shaking. "No," he whispered. "No, Maya, that's impossible. You would have told me. You—" She cut him off gently but firmly. "I tried." His heart pounded. "I wrote letters, emails, messages. I even went to your office once. But your assistant always said you were too busy or out of the country." Ethan felt the air leave his lungs. He remembered those years. Years where he buried himself in work. Years where he let his assistant handle everything personal. "Maya, God!" "I didn't know," he whispered, voice breaking. "I know," she said softly. "That's why I stopped trying." He closed his eyes tightly, pain crushing him. "All these years," he whispered, "my children existed, and I wasn't there." "Ethan," Maya said gently, "I didn't hide them from you out of anger." "Then why?" he asked painfully. "Why didn't you tell me to my face?" She looked at the children, her eyes softening. "I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks after the divorce. And you were drowning in your company. Every news channel talked about your massive expansion. Every interview you gave, you said you had no time for anything except work. Her voice cracked. "I didn't want to raise the kids alone while you missed everything. And I didn't want them growing up with a father who was physically present but emotionally absent." Ethan felt like he couldn't breathe. He saw flashes of what he lost. The first time Liam said "Mama," Noah's first steps, Emma's first laugh, their birthdays, their first day at school. Moments he should have been part of. Moments he never even knew happened. Tears escaped his eyes, falling onto his hands. "Do they know?" he whispered. "Do they know I'm their father?" Maya shook her head. "No, I couldn't tell them something I wasn't sure you wanted to be." Ethan looked up sharply. "Maya, I would have—" "No," she cut him softly. "You wouldn't have. Not back then." Her words hurt because they were true. Back then he wasn't ready. But now? Now he felt like something inside him had awakened. Like his entire life had been leading to this one moment. "Maya," he whispered, voice trembling, "I want to be in their lives." Her eyes softened but remained cautious. "They don't know you. They've never met you. So you can't just appear and say you're their father out of nowhere." "I know," he whispered, "but I want to try." She studied him. His face, his guilt, his longing, his pain, his sincerity. Finally, she nodded slightly. "We may try it slowly." His heart jumped with hope. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you, Maya. You don't know what this means to me." She looked at him quietly. "No, Ethan, you don't know what it means to them." Before he could respond, the little girl Emma ran toward their table. "Mommy," she said, climbing into Maya's lap. "Can we go home soon?" "I'm cold." Maya hugged her. "Of course, sweetheart. We'll leave soon." Emma then turned to Ethan innocently. "Sir, why do you have the same eyes as us?" Ethan's breath hitched. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Maya placed a protective hand over Emma's head. "Emma, honey," she whispered. "He's an old friend." Emma nodded, smiling brightly. "Okay, you look nice." Ethan gave a broken smile. "Thank you, Princess," he whispered. "Princess," the word slipped out naturally. Because she was his daughter. And he didn't even know. When Maya left the cafe with the children holding her hands, Ethan stayed seated, staring into nothing. His entire world had changed in one single afternoon. He wasn't alone anymore. He had a family, a past he never knew, a future he desperately wanted, and a truth that shattered him. He had 3 children, and 10 years of lost time to make up for. Ethan left the cafe hours ago, yet the world around him still felt unreal. As his car moved through the rainy streets of New York, his eyes remained fixed on the raindrops sliding down the window, each drop reflecting a memory he never had. 3 children, 3, all his, 10 years old, smart, innocent, beautiful, looking just like him, and he didn't even know their names until a few hours ago. Liam, Noah, Emma. He whispered the names under his breath like a prayer. His children, his blood, his responsibility, his greatest blessing, and his greatest regret. When he entered his penthouse, a cold, silent place with views worth billions, he felt something strange. For the first time in years, the silence disgusted him. He imagined tiny footsteps echoing across the polished floors. He imagined children running around laughing, messing up his immaculate space. He imagined toys scattered everywhere, drawings stuck on the fridge, a woman's soft laughter in the kitchen. A home, his home, but none of that existed. All he had was emptiness. He walked to the living room, sat on the edge of his expensive leather couch, and finally let himself collapse. He buried his face in his hands and cried harder than he ever had in his life. He cried for the children he didn't know. He cried for the birthdays he missed. He cried for the first words he never heard. He cried for every night Maya must have stayed awake alone, carrying the weight of motherhood without him. He cried because he realized he had everything. Money, power, status, but nothing that truly mattered. The next morning, Ethan didn't go to work. For the first time in a decade, he didn't care about meetings, deals, investors, or conferences. All he cared about was seeing his children. He called Sam, his driver. "Cancel everything," he said. "All of it?" Sam asked. "Yes," Ethan said firmly. "I'm done missing what matters." There was a long silence. Then Sam said softly, "Good, it's time, sir." Ethan didn't even question how Sam understood. Maybe his pain was visible to everyone now. He checked the clock. 8 to 12 a.m. By this time, kids usually went to school. A sharp ache hit his chest. He didn't know where they studied. He didn't know their favorite subjects. He didn't know if they loved drawing or math or sports. He didn't even know if they liked pancakes or cereal for breakfast. He knew nothing. And it killed him. His hand trembled as he dialed her number. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Then, "Hello?" Her voice, soft, calm, familiar. He closed his eyes in relief. "Maya, it's me." "Yes, I know," she said quietly. He swallowed hard. "Are the kids at school?" "Yes," she replied. "They go at 8. Can I see them today?" Silence. A long one. He could picture her biting her lip, thinking carefully. Finally she said, "Ethan, you can't rush into this. They don't know you." "I know," he whispered. "But I want to try, slowly, carefully, whatever you need." Another pause. "Let's start small," Maya said. "You can pick them up from school today." Ethan's heart nearly burst. "Really?" "Yes, but you won't tell them anything." "Not yet." He nodded quickly, even though she couldn't see it. "I won't, I promise." She took a small breath. "I'll text you the school address." "Thank you, Maya," he whispered, tears filling his eyes again. "You don't know how much this means to me." Her voice softened. "I think I do." All day Ethan couldn't sit still. He paced around the penthouse. He tried reading emails, but the words blurred. He tried eating, but nothing went down. He tried working, but his mind drifted back to the cafe, to the children's faces, to the truth he still struggled to process. He felt nervous, excited, terrified. Would they like him? Would they fear him? Would they think he was a stranger? Would they reject him? He didn't blame them if they did. He rejected them long before they had a chance to know him. At 2:45 p.m., Ethan arrived at the school, a small, friendly building with colorful murals painted on the walls. Nothing like the elite, overpriced institutions he would have chosen. This school felt warm, safe, family-like. He stood among waiting parents, his expensive suit contrasting sharply with their casual clothes. But for the first time in his life, he didn't care how he looked. All he cared about was the blue door that would open in a few minutes. Parents chatted around him. "How was your meeting? Did Lily finish her project? Who's bringing snacks tomorrow?" Normal conversations, normal lives. Lives he was never part of. He clenched his fists, fighting the urge to cry again. One woman smiled at him politely. "First time picking up your kid?" she asked. Ethan blinked. He paused. Then he whispered, "Something like that." She laughed kindly. "You look nervous." "I am," he admitted. "You'll be fine," she said warmly. "Kids are simple. They just want kindness." Kindness, a word he once knew, before business took everything soft from him. But maybe, just maybe, he could learn again. The school bell rang. Children burst through the doors, laughing, waving, running to their parents. His heart pounded violently in his chest. Then he saw them, Liam, Noah, Emma, walking together, just like yesterday. Emma spotted him first. Her eyes lit up. "That's the man with the same eyes as us," she whispered loudly to her brothers. Ethan smiled gently. He crouched down slowly so he wouldn't tower over them. "Hey," he said softly. The boys approached him cautiously, but Emma walked right up to him, her tiny shoes tapping on the pavement. "Are you Mommy's friend?" she asked. "Something like that," he whispered with a smile. She grinned. "You came back." "You didn't disappear." Her innocence hit him like a warm wave. "I told you I would try," he said gently. Noah stepped closer. "You came alone?" he asked. "Yes," Ethan replied. "I wanted to see you all." Liam folded his arms. He was clearly the protective one. "Why?" Liam asked bluntly. Ethan took a slow breath. How could he answer without revealing the truth? "Because," he said softly, "someone told me I should meet you, and I really wanted to." The kids exchanged looks. Emma suddenly extended her tiny hand. Do you want to walk with us? His heart nearly broke. Yes, he whispered. I'd love to. The walk to their apartment was only 10 minutes, but for Ethan, it was the most meaningful 10 minutes of his entire life. Emma held his hand confidently. Noah walked on his other side, curious but quiet. Liam stayed a step behind, watching him carefully. Where do you live? Noah asked. Not far, Ethan replied. Up the hill. Do you have kids? Emma asked. He swallowed hard. No, he whispered. Not yet, but I always wanted some. Emma grinned. You'd be a good daddy. You talk soft. He almost stumbled from the impact of those words. When they reached the apartment building, the boys ran ahead to press the elevator button. Emma tugged his sleeve. Will you visit us again? He knelt down, looking into her warm eyes. If your mom allows me, he said softly. I'll come every day. Her smile widened. Okay. Inside the elevator, Noah looked up at him. Why are you nervous? He asked suddenly. Ethan blinked. You can tell? Noah nodded. Oh, keep touching your watch. That's what I do when I'm scared. Ethan looked at his watch. He had been touching it unknowingly. He smiled sadly. You're very observant. Liam, still guarded, finally spoke. What do you do for work? I build things, Ethan said. Like houses? Emma asked. No, Ethan chuckled. Bigger, like computer programs and companies. Liam raised a brow. So, you're rich? Ethan paused. He didn't want to impress them. He wanted them to like him for him. I do okay, he said gently. Liam studied him for a moment, then gave a tiny nod. The first sign of approval. When they reached the apartment door, it opened instantly. Maya stood there, her face filled with nerves, hope, and fear. The kids ran inside. Emma shouted, Mommy, he walked us home. Maya met his eyes, and he saw it, a flicker of something like relief. He stepped back respectfully. I didn't tell them anything, he said softly. I know, she whispered. Then she looked at him for a long moment. How was it? She asked carefully. Ethan's voice broke. It was the best day of my life. Maya exhaled shakily. And for the first time, Ethan saw something in her eyes he hadn't seen in years. Trust. The afternoon sun hung low in the sky, casting warm gold across the quiet park where Ethan found himself sitting on the grass beside 3 children who should have been strangers, but somehow felt like pieces of his own heart. He didn't know how long they'd been playing, an hour, 2. Time had slipped away from him, dissolving into laughter, small hands tugging at his sleeves, and the soft, unbelievable feeling of belonging. For the first time in years, Ethan wasn't a billionaire. He wasn't a CEO. He wasn't a man haunted by his past. He was just Ethan, just a man discovering the joy he never knew he'd lost. Liam sat cross-legged on the grass, a bright blue puzzle scattered in front of him. He grunted in frustration as he tried to force a piece where it didn't belong. That's not how it works, Ethan laughed gently. You can't fight the puzzle. Liam puffed out his cheeks. That's how Mommy does it. Ethan raised a brow. Does it work for her? Liam looked down. No. Ethan chuckled. Then let's try a different way. He guided Liam's small hands, not doing the puzzle for him, just showing him how to feel the shapes, how to match edges, how to look for patterns. You're really smart, Ethan said softly, watching Liam's face brighten with every piece that fit. Never forget that. Liam looked up at him, eyes wide, hopeful, glowing. Are you gonna stay? The words were quiet. Too quiet for a child who should never have had to ask something so painful. Ethan swallowed. I'm here right now, he said gently, and I'm not going anywhere. Liam leaned against him without another word, comforted in a way that broke Ethan's heart clean open. On the other side of the park bench, Noah sat swinging his legs, watching Ethan fold a crisp white paper airplane. Is that really gonna fly? Noah asked skeptically. Ethan grinned. Only one way to find out. He handed the boy the airplane and stepped back. Go ahead. Give it a shot. Noah bit his lip, positioned himself, and threw it. The airplane soared, high, smooth, perfect. Noah gasped. I did that. Ethan's chest tightened. God, he had missed so many moments like this. moments a father should have been there for. He crouched beside Noah. "You know," Ethan said quietly, "I used to love building these when I was your age." Noah's eyes widened. "Really?" "Really. I wasn't very good at it, but I practiced a lot." Noah folded his arms, pretending to think deeply. "We should practice together. I need someone who knows how to make the good ones." Ethan laughed, ruffling the boy's soft hair. "Then I'm your guy." If only Noah knew the truth. That Ethan would have given up his entire fortune just to teach him how to fold his very first airplane. Emma, the youngest, had been watching her brothers from a little distance, clutching her stuffed bunny. She had Maya's eyes, large, gentle, impossibly expressive. At one point, she toddled over and tugged on Ethan's sleeve. "You look lonely," she said matter-of-factly. Ethan blinked. "Do I?" She nodded and crawled right into his lap, like she'd known him her entire life. "You smell like my mommy when she's happy." Ethan froze. He didn't know how to respond to that. To the innocence, the honesty, the warmth he didn't deserve. Emma leaned her small head on his chest. "You're nice," she whispered. "I like you." Ethan wrapped an arm around her carefully, terrified to move, terrified to break the fragile magic of the moment. For years he believed he couldn't be part of a family. For years he believed Maya didn't need him. For years he believed he wasn't worthy of love. But here, with a child asleep against his heart, and 2 boys calling his name, he felt something he had long forgotten. Hope. Maya stood a few steps away, arms crossed, watching the scene unfold. Her breath caught in her throat. There he was, Ethan Reed, her ex-husband, the man she had once loved more than life. She remembered the Ethan who smiled like this, soft and warm. The Ethan who knelt down to tie shoes, who laughed at silly jokes, who dreamed of having a family. The Ethan she had lost. She blinked back tears as Emma curled deeper into his arms. He hadn't just shown up today. He hadn't just given gifts or said nice words. He had listened. He had played. He had cared. He had been everything she once prayed for, without even realizing he was doing it. Her heart twisted painfully. Was it possible Ethan hadn't changed into the cold businessman she walked away from? Was it possible he had only been lost, drowning in work, in fear, in the expectations others forced on him? Was it possible? He had always loved her. The sky had turned a deep lavender by the time the kids reluctantly said goodbye. They were exhausted from playing, their little bodies covered in grass and sunshine. Ethan carried Emma to Maya's car, as if she were his own child. As he buckled her into her seat, his hands shook, not from fear but from something deeper, something raw. She looked so much like Maya. When he stepped back, he didn't want to walk away. Maya noticed. She cleared her throat. "They really like you." Ethan smiled, a tired, emotional smile that reached his eyes. "I like them too." For a moment, neither of them moved. The world around them felt perfectly still. Finally, Maya looked down. "I don't want to destroy your life," she said softly. "Being a billionaire father comes with risks, attention, pressure, the media, everything." Ethan shook his head fiercely. "I don't care about any of that, Maya." His voice trembled. "For the first time in years, I feel alive. And it's because of them, and because of you." Her breath caught. He took a step closer. "Maya," Ethan said quietly, "look at me." She did. They were close, close enough to feel the warmth of old memories rising between them. "I know we've changed," Ethan whispered. "I know life happened. Mistakes happened, but some love doesn't disappear. Some love just sleeps, waiting for a chance to come home." Maya's eyes filled with tears she fought to hide. "Ethan, we're not the same people anymore." "No," he agreed softly. "We're stronger, wiser, and maybe this time we can build a life that doesn't fall apart." Her lips trembled. "Are you saying you want to try again?" Ethan took her hand, gently, respectfully, like he used to when they were young and in love. "I'm saying," he breathed, "that I want to be the father I should have been. And if, just if, there's still a place for me in your heart. I want to come home." A tear slipped down Maya's cheek. Not from pain, from relief, from longing. From the realization that the man she once loved still loved her too. Before she could respond, the kids called from inside the car. "Ethan, Come say bye. Come back tomorrow. He turned and walked to them, his heart overflowing. He bent down and hugged all three. Liam pressed into his shoulder, Noah gripping his arm, Emma clinging to his neck like she never wanted to let go. Ethan closed his eyes. I promise, he whispered, voice breaking. Daddy's here now, and he's never leaving again. The words tasted foreign, and yet they felt more real than anything he'd said in a decade. As Ethan stepped back, Maya watched him with new eyes. She had spent years surviving, years protecting her children, years bracing herself for disappointment. But today, she saw hope. She saw healing. She saw the possibility of a future she thought she lost forever. Then take it slow, she said quietly. Be there for them. And maybe one day, be there for me too. Ethan's smile was soft, humble, overflowing with gratitude he could barely express. I will. And as the sun broke through the thinning clouds above them, Maya felt something she had not felt in a very long time, a belief in second chances, because sometimes love leaves, sometimes people fall apart. But the heart always remembers the way home. And on that quiet evening, with her children laughing and Ethan smiling like the man she once knew, Maya allowed herself to hope again, allowed herself to dream again, allowed herself to love again. Because the greatest miracles in life aren't the ones you chase. They are the ones fate brings back, when you least expect them.